breaking ball hit well, deep to center. Roller going back, near the wall. This baby's gonna go! Troy Johnston has a 3-run bomb!
This is the Turn 2 podcast with Scott Kornberg and Troy Johnston.
Turn 2 fans, welcome back to episode 2 with Troy Johnston and Scott Kornberg. I am Troy Johnston. This is Scott Kornberg. We have an awesome guest for you today, lead broadcaster Kyle Sielaff. But before that, baseball is back. What are you excited for this season, Scott? We got a lot to be excited for, but what are you excited for?
I mean, I love just the general scope of the season. So the fact that it's there for you every night, right? That there's something comforting in that, even when
it's like a nice pillow.
Yeah, there's a game that's not necessarily interesting. We don't have a close game every night. That's unrealistic. But to me, I just like the rhythm of the season, that it's there pretty much every night. And there's something special about that. What about you?
I'm excited for different opportunities to go to different cities. So if I have the opportunity to come back to Jacksonville or go to Miami, whatever it is, I get to go to a bunch of new places that I've never been. And that is the most exciting part about the baseball season, is I get to travel to all these cool places. Because I know we talk about Memphis, but it has one of the best coffee shops. The best coffee that I've had. And I'm from Seattle. We got great coffee.
Say something.
It is unbelievable at the hotel across the street. So across the street from our hotel. I don't remember what it's one. It's the one with the ducks.
Peabody,
yes, Peabody. Awesome, unbelievable coffee. But that's what I'm excited for. I'm excited to go travel. I'm excited to kind of get started with the season. And, somebody's got to go 30-30 this year. It might as well be me.
Let me ask you a question. I would think coffee this time of the year is probably a necessity, because you go the off season. I know you're working in school, so you're up early, but I would think a lot of your teammates are not. And all of a sudden you got to be up, because workouts start like 7, 8 in the morning, I think, right? So a lot of these guys probably have to be coffee people the first week or two of spring training to survive.
Yeah, if you're not coffee, you're pre-workout. If you're not pre-workout, you're an energy drink kind of guy. Like there's a lot of caffeine people in the clubhouse, whether, like even one of my favorites is like the Cuban coffee shots. It's like espresso shots with a bunch of sugar in it. Do you remember, did you have any of them last year?
I did not. I stay away.
You stayed away? The only thing, yeah, I had to time it up, because if not, my first at bat, I would swing at everything because I was so jittery. So I had to time it up and take it and, drink it before I even like anywhere near the first pitch of the game, maybe an hour before. Because if not, I was way too jittery.
It's wild.
But I think everybody's got their vice on caffeine, whether you're, like you said, coffee, caffeine pouches, caffeine pills, energy drinks, pre-workout. Everybody, some people mix all of it. So,
what is the first week of spring training like? We're recording this, and there's no games yet. So is it just you're just doing drills all day? I mean, what is that like? You arrive at spring training, and then what happens?
So relatively, it's a pretty busy schedule. It's jam-packed with a lot of different stuff. We start out our day. Usually you get some breakfast. You do what you need to do, warm up. You go to hit in the cage about, like, my time is the earliest. I'm like 7:45-ish. Hit for 30 minutes. Come back in, stretch, hang out, do whatever. We usually start meetings around 9:15, 9:30. So we'll have meetings over different stuff. Whether today it was like base running. Yesterday it was like just a general team meeting, stuff like that. And there's going to be meetings all throughout, whether there's guest speakers that come in and talk, whether there's like specific stuff we want to talk about as a team. We'll have team meetings. Then after that, we go out for stretch, do infield, outfield, defensive work. Then that's where we do the drills. It's like most of the time our drilling is like base running. So we'll do like base running drills. Then after that, you do regular BP. After BP, you either have live at-bats or something else. There's no scrimmages, nothing. Me, I'm trying to get as many at-bats as I can right now, just because I have the opportunity to. And so I'll head to the minor league side, and I'll go hit off those guys. They're not too happy. they're not too happy about it because I'm taking their at bats. But I try to sneak in as much as I can and get out. But I do that and try my best. And it's just about, like we talked about with broadcasting, and even with doing podcasts, is getting reps, trying to get reps, trying to get reps, trying to get reps. What does your spring training look like? I guess you don't really have an off season. You're always in season.
I am, yeah. I mean, it's a lot this time of the year. It's a lot of because I'm the media person and the broadcaster, but I'm also the media
Okay.
person. Um, it is a lot of press releases. Like I think I've written like 13 press releases in the last 2 weeks about single game tickets go on sale, promotions. This is the 2024 promotions. This event, movie night that's going on, and a baseball clinic. And I mean, almost none of it has to do with baseball, which is why I'm very excited about baseball because that's the business of the minor leagues is so little of it. Not many people necessarily care who's playing shortstop, but they love the promotions, they love the fireworks, they love that stuff, and so that's really important to the jumbo shrimp. But I think my passion, I think a lot of broadcasters would feel the same way. We get into this because we love the baseball side, so it's like it's two passions. I love that other stuff, but I think the baseball is your first true love, and so that, and I do some sales. So,
Mm.
fortunately, people, really are into the jumbo shrimp. They've got a great name in this region, and so people are buying season tickets. They're getting group outings. They're buying some sort of sponsorship, things like that to get in with the team to either advertise or brand or because they love coming here. They want to bring their kids and their spouse or friends or their company. I do all that stuff. So it is way less than during the season, but it's none of the broadcasting. I would do broadcasting, basketball mainly, volleyball. Um, but we're getting closer to the broadcasting where I get to go join you guys in about 3 weeks or so down in Jupiter. I'm excited about
Ooh, remind me, what date are you going to be here?
March 15, 16, 17. I don't know what time on the 15th. I got to bring my family, but at some point.
Turn two fans, mark your calendars. Make sure you turn into the Miami Marlins broadcast with Scott Kornberg
And Kyle Sielaff, who,
and Kyle
who
Sielaff.
yeah, who first off, again, we'll talk about him in a second, but is really gracious enough to invite me to do this and is really a great broadcaster. I'm curious about a couple of things that you said. Guest speaker. Are we talking like former players? Are we talking commissioner's office people? Like, what are we? What's a guest speaker in spring training?
So sometimes they're there to kind of sell you on things and get you to donate and do different stuff like
Hmm.
that for awesome causes. There's different things that like that, like giving back to the community. Um, a couple of the other guest speakers are just, yeah, like we said, former people that come in, they talk, they try to give us different perspectives from what we know. You have guys that are in there that have been in the big leagues for 10 years, and you have other guys that have been in there for 2 years, and so everybody has a different perspective. So trying to bring in guys to kind of flip the script and do different stuff. I think that's kind of what our front office and what our coaching staff wants to do.
On that note, um, my thought is that first day of spring training, Skip Schumacher and I'm breaking some news here, but Darren Brown I think is coming back to the Jumbo Shrimp as their manager in 2024. Um, are they pulling you guys aside for like a meeting and a speech? Like, is that a thing at professional baseball, major league and AAA? Is that a thing where they're talking to you guys, or do they just kind of say, "This is the schedule, you guys do you"?
A lot of it is that right away.
Mhm.
Uh, I was pulled in recently to a meeting with Skip, and he was unbelievable. He talked me through a couple things just mentally of what I was going through and a lot of different stuff. But I don't know how often they pull guys in. Sometimes there's meetings and sometimes they'll say stuff, but a lot of the times it's really just here's the schedule, here's what we're doing. If you have questions, let us know.
Do they have like a team meeting to set the tone of the year?
Yes, they had one that was our very first day. And then after that, there's different meetings based on what we're working on for that day, that week, whatever it is.
So what was Skip's message coming off a playoff appearance? I think a lot of Marlins fans, and we'll talk to Kyle about this, had maybe ideas of how they wanted the offseason to go. And for some of them, it went that way. For some, it didn't. What was his message to the team?
So a lot of the message was everybody's counting the Marlins out.
Hmm.
All projections, everything like that. But realistically, they've been doing that for years. So his message was, why not us? Why can't we be the ones to change the whole dynamic of how the baseball world views the Miami Marlins? Why not us? Why not this group? Why not the 2024 Miami Marlins? And so I think that was his big message was, don't listen to the doubters. We know we're good. We know what we can do. Just we have to go out and play and execute.
I've heard he's awesome from several players who love his communication style. Who, I mean, he's a former player for a long time, so he gets it. Um, who's got really good ways of like approaching people like yourself who are on the cusp of the majors, guys like John Birdie who have been there for a long, long time, and who talked about Skip a little bit when he was in Jacksonville in the past. Was this the first time you'd interacted with him a little bit, or like what was that like to getting to know him and kind of how he communicated with you?
So, yeah, I think the player portion is huge because he knows exactly what we're going through, what's going through our heads. So he's seen it over and over and over again, right? And now he's on the other side where now it's his job to help us through all these things. And so he already has a leg up in the game. But the way that he operates the team is very, very smooth.
Hmm.
It's very easy to work with, but there's still the intent to win every single day. There is no, hey, get your reps in, but just no, be ready. This kind of, it's like, no, we're here to win every single day. There's one thing he loves to do, and it's win. And he is out there to make us win every single day.
Have you noticed anything different in how, with a new front office, is anything? I mean, obviously, manager and coaching staff is going to run the show for spring training. That said, new front office, anything different you've seen 2024 versus previous years?
I think it's too early to tell. I
Yeah.
think 2 days in, other than that, they've signed the same amount of guys that they have in the past. A lot of turnover, like we talked about, of just AAA, big leagues, whatever it is, the higher levels. There's just a lot of turnover. But other than that, I think it's just too early to tell. I think the rest of 2024 will be a good indication of what this front office is capable of doing.
Someone who's really bullish in the front office, Kyle Sielaff. This is that conversation with the lead broadcaster from Marlins Radio. It's an awesome one. Kyle, we're talking just before the start of spring training. Thank you so much for the time. And we follow each other on Instagram. You live in South Florida, but I just saw you post a bunch of pictures of snow. So did you go home to New York, or were you on vacation somewhere in preparation of this season?
I was on vacation in preparation of the season, and my travels took me from Miami to Berlin, Germany for a night. And from Berlin, I went to Helsinki, Finland,
Wow.
to Rovaniemi in Finland, to Sweden, into Tromsø, Norway, where I spent a few days. I was gone 11 days, and I did a Lapland group trip. It was unbelievable. A trip I never thought I would take. And I had an amazing time. A part of the world I never thought I would go to. It was incredible. I did some incredible activities, dog sledding, snowmobiling. We can do that here, obviously, but you're still snowmobiling through the Arctic Circle. Went to Santa Claus's Village, which was unbelievable. I have more on that if you'd like me to share that. But big in saunas over there. The saunas were great. The cold plunges. I did a little bit of everything. Ate a lot of reindeer. That's their food of choice. It's a seafood heavy diet, but the meat that they do eat is primarily reindeer. And I had an unbelievable week and a half.
So when most people say I'm going to Europe, they'll take Italy or Greece or France.
Right.
Did you decide that trip? Because it sounds awesome and different.
So I went with a group. It's called FTLO, for the Love of Travel, and they do trips worldwide. It's small groups between, I would say, 10 to 16 people. It was myself, Kelly Sacco, who does the sideline for Bally Sports Florida, Shayla Marquez, who does our in-game entertainment at the Marlins, and Dom Camarda, who, Troy, I'm sure you know, Dom in the clubhouse, little Dom. So, yeah, we went. The four of us went. Myself and Dom were the only two guys on the trip, and there were 14 other girls on the trip from all walks of life. One girl flew a helicopter in the Navy for 10 years, and now she works in HR for the Navy in Italy. There was an aerospace engineer, vets, nurses, book publishers in New York, a little bit of everything. So it was really, really cool. And again, I did some amazing things. A trip I never thought I would take. It was 20 to 25 below zero every day Fahrenheit, our temperature. And the sun would rise at around 10:30 every morning, and it set around 11:30 an hour later, not 13 hours later. It was crazy. It was amazing, but I can't suggest it enough. Going over there it was amazing. I was hanging out in the Arctic Circle. It was crazy.
Did you get to see, is that part of where you see the Northern Lights? Or
Yep.
is that
That
is on
let's
my
do some bad radio. Let's do some bad podcasting. Let me show you guys. One of the activities that we did was we ice floated under the Northern Lights in a sea or a lake. You ever watch The Deadliest Catch on Discovery Channel?
every once in a while when
Okay, you know the gist of it. Obviously, they're in the Bering Sea in Alaska. It's very dangerous. They put these suits on when they're working on the ship in case they fall over, they float. So it's basically floating suits. Here is a picture.
Wow.
Wow, that
It was
is
insane. Now, the caveat to the aurora and the northern lights, sometimes you do see it like that with the naked eye. It's much more faint to the naked eye, but phones will take better pictures of it because you can the exposure. The phone can see the aurora better than your eyes can, but sometimes if you get lucky, you see it with the naked eye like that.
that is
One
so
other
good.
amazing thing. One other thing we did was dog sledding. You know what the Iditarod is? Remember that? Reading books,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Iditarod. One of the we went to it was called like Bear Paw Husky Park, where there's hundreds of huskies, maybe about 100. One of the dogs there won the Iditarod in 2019, and 3 of the 5 dogs on my sled won Europe's longest race, dog sledding race in 2023.
That is insane.
It was
Right
awesome.
right when you said dog sledding, I have this. So I have a dog. I have a little Boston Terrier. I'm
Yes.
imagining 7 or 8 Boston Terriers pulling a sled, but the Huskies probably do a much better job.
That's all they want to do.
How did you like keep your balance and everything? Because it's probably in a very athletic movement to even just be on the sled, right? Did you
You'd be
even
surprised. There's only a couple of requirements. And number one is do not let go, because those dogs don't care if you're on it or off it. And in fact, if you're off of it and the brakes aren't on, it's go time. It's pedal to the metal, and they will take off, and they will not stop running. In fact, the dogs that were on my sled, they did 4 loops a day, and they ran for about an hour each time. Like, that's what they're born and raised to do, and they love it. If you stop them, they start barking up a storm because that's all they want to do is run. There's a little brake on your foot, so you have to slow down a little bit going around turns and stuff. But for the most part, they know where they're going. We weren't going through like deep snow. You know, it's an excursion type thing, so they have a lot of not tourists, I guess you would say, that do it. So they kind of know where to go, the same path and stuff. But it was amazing. And I'll tell you one other thing we did when we were in Rovaniemi in Finland. It's the home of Santa Claus. So we went to Santa Claus's village, where you step into Santa Claus's village, you step into the Arctic Circle. And what's amazing about it is every little boy and little girl worldwide that sends a letter to Santa Claus and puts it in the mailbox, it goes there. And they said starting in November, they get up to 30,000 letters a day, and they hire support staff to open every single letter, and they respond to as many as they can.
Wow. That's
It was amazing.
So, what a trip. Now you get to go into your second season as the voice of the Marlins on the radio, which is awesome. And for those who don't know, Troy, we were looking this up, and you have an amazing journey. Like, you started with the Marlins as an intern, worked your way up to that role.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do? You know, you've been with Miami for more than a decade now. Like, what were some things that you did in the very beginning en route to the role you have now with the Marlins?
I would say the number one thing I did is I lied a little bit and told them I can do absolutely anything, because I knew I didn't know what the heck I was going to do if I lost the job. Like my intern year. So I graduated from the University of Miami in December of 2012. My sports director at the time, Chris Whittingham, who now calls Apple MLS games, if you like soccer or whatever, he does Apple MLS. He does play-by-play for them. He said, hey, the Marlins might be looking for a broadcasting intern and potentially to host a pregame show. I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm 21 years old, but sure, I'll send him a resume. I'm sure they'll find somebody else. long story short, I was pretty persistent. I was in New York. I drove all the way back down. I brought a suit and I said, I'm here. Interview me. I get the job. They put me on the air and I started the internship, and I was on the air from day one in 2013. Yes, I graduated in December of 12. I started about a month and a half later in February of 13. Once the year ended, again, I tell people this all the time, you got to work really hard, but you got to get a little lucky. The manager of broadcasting at the time left for ESPN, and I went to him, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I said, I know how to do that. I will do. If you don't think I know how to do it, I'll learn how to do the administrative work. I said, I know how to do it. I watched them all season long. Fooled them a little bit. They gave me the coordinator of broadcasting. And really ever since, I've been very, very hands-on, even to this day, with a ton of administrative work, running the department. But I knew that the only way I thought I was going to be able to stay, it wasn't just viable to be like, hey, I'll host a 30-minute pregame show. Hire me. I was like, I'll do anything else in this department. And I basically figured out how to run the department over the years. And now I kind of do, in addition to the play-by-play stuff.
That's awesome. Okay, so as of right now, so you are pretty much, you've told us kind of how you got to this point. So we know what you're doing right now. You're, of course, the play-by-play for the Marlins. What does your future look like? Like, do you plan on doing this again for another 10, 20, 30 years? Do you plan on working more, elaborating more into the broadcasting area? Do you have dreams bigger than just the Miami Marlins? Like, what does your future look like?
I mean, I think it's a good question. I think Scott would like attest to this as well. Like, you know, for me, this was my dream job growing up. Like, I grew up in New York. I grew up a big fan of the New York Mets. The only access I had to baseball in the summertime was I'm not that old, by the way. I'm 33, but I would have a transistor radio in my bedroom. I preface that because I don't want to somebody think I'm a dinosaur here. But if on a clear night back home, I grew up in the middle of on farmland in New York. So on a clear night, I know people have no idea what I'm referring to within reason. If I tune my radio in perfectly and put it up to my window as I was falling asleep, I would hear Howie and the guys in New York. So that was kind of my introduction into baseball. And I played 2 years in college. It wasn't going anywhere, which is fine, but I love baseball. My point is, I love baseball growing up. I love the Mets. Obviously, they have an incredible broadcasting crew who it's surreal to me to this day. I can shoot a text or say hello to. That's like my dream. And Troy, I love every one of the players, but my dream growing up was to meet every darn broadcaster I could. I'm thinking, heck with the players. I want to meet these broadcasters, man. Like, they're my heroes. So this was my dream. Like, to me, I'm living my dream, and I have an awesome fortune and opportunity in the offseason to still do college basketball for ACC Network and the University of Miami in particular. I love that stuff. Miami is home. I can genuinely say I don't send letters out there and asking people to listen to my stuff in hopes of something better, because to me, this is the best it gets, really. So I just love it. I love being a part of a team and an organization. I'm sure doing network radio and network TV and doing ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is awesome, and the pay is incredible. But for me, I love being a part of the organization, getting to know people like the both of you, but like seeing people constantly and day after day, and like kind of living that grind with the guys, because there's no other way you kind of understand what you guys as players go through, but to live it kind of with you, ride the coattails of these guys and understand, like, man, the grind is incredible. I love that. I love that part of it.
That is such an awesome answer. I couldn't, when I prefaced the question, I didn't think I was going to get an answer like that. But that is awesome.
All right.
That is literally perfectly exactly what I was looking for.
That's awesome. I passed. That's an A.
I have another question then for you. Okay. So I was doing my research, of course, just like any good interviewer does. Do you have an agent?
Yeah. So Gabby Sanchez, who played for the Marlins, played for the Pirates, played for the Mariners a little bit, and actually played over in Japan, who now does stuff with myself on the radio and Bally Sports Florida. He was represented by Max Entertainment out of New York. They've got some really cool people, like Nate Burleson, the NFL. I love the NFL. I love all sports. But anyway, Gabby, a couple of years ago, he was like, hey, because I was still just doing the pregame, and he had kind of started doing some analyst work. He was like, hey, I'm just going to send them your stuff, right? It just doesn't hurt. And long story short, I had a couple of conversations with them, and I signed a 2-year deal with those guys, and it's been awesome. And really, it truly is. I think there's like a misconception, almost like you have an agent, like you have representation. They're almost more like friends, right? Who kind of have my back. they let me know what's going on in the industry. They call me once in a while, see how I'm doing, see if I need anything. And it's nice to have someone in your corner. I would say it's people more in my corner than a talent agency, because that just sounds silly to me. But really, it's like people that kind of have your best interest in mind.
Because that was my next question, was because of course I did the research and I saw the agency. I was like, it's an entertainment industry. I'm wondering if he's wanting to get into acting after this. Because
No.
are
Oh, God,
you
no.
giving Brad Pitt a run for his money here? Are
No,
you
sir.
are you
You
trying
see
to get
this? Now, is this podcast? Is this first episode on video?
It is, yeah.
Okay. All right. No. No,
Hey,
sir.
we'll let the listeners decide. I'll put a picture up of Brad Pitt and you, and we'll be like, all right, tell me the differences, because there's not many.
Yeah, well, let me learn Photoshop first, okay? Give me about a week. Let me do a tutorial on Photoshop, and then we can start posting pictures.
Kyle, you
awesome.
talked a lot about being embedded in the team pretty much. And you've been with so many different eras of Marlins baseball, early 2010s. And there was the sculpture out in the outfield still. They had Giancarlo Stanton and all those guys. You get several new front offices coming in, new ownership coming in at some point. Now even this year, obviously new front office coming in again. What's that been like? Do you have to relearn different people coming in? I mean, how's that like when you're starting in 2013? You get to know those people. In X year, Kim Ang comes in. This year, Peter
Right.
Bendix comes in. What's it like to maybe not relearn the organization, but see it turn over so much as you're been a constant over the years?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to kind of like unfold and answer there. But I think number one for folks like in our position, Scott, it's just relationship building, and it's getting people to trust you, right? Like we have jobs that every night we go on the air. Sure, we have an opportunity. If you hold a grudge against somebody, you could try to bury a player, an executive, someone. So like, I mean, that's silly, and I never do that, obviously. But like, when a new general manager comes in, a new president of baseball operations, a new manager, I think it's really developing a friendship like any other time in your life. It takes a little while to get to trust somebody. So my goal, truthfully, is every time there's change and there's like systematic changes on the field and the clubhouse, whether it's players, managers, coaches, or front office personnel, is just for them to get to know me and just like trust me. I have no agenda, like I think it's crazy in this industry. I think there are a lot of egos. My interest level, and this is probably veering off a little bit, but I think it's funny that you bring it up. My interest level in ever like bashing a player, and it drives me nuts when people do it because we've never been there. I'll never be on that field. I don't understand within reason what it takes to play this game at this level. So who the hell am I to criticize what you're doing down there within reason? Now, I know enough to know if you forgot to tag up or you didn't field the ball the way you should, fine. But like, that to me, I want these guys, I want every player and every coach and every manager just to trust me. And number one, like I'm a fan of theirs, of the manager, of the coaches, I root for the team. I'm a fan of this team, truthfully. And I've just been blessed with the opportunity to cover the team and bring this game to the fans every single night. So I think really to answer your question, every single year is different. Players come, players go. I'm sure as players, and there's 26 different guys in the clubhouse. If you don't really know each other well, there's teams every year. It's like, man, something just felt off, right? Last year for me, the Marlins, I was like, these guys like each other, man. Like they play hard for each other every night. It was really, really cool. It was the first time for me in my now going into my 12th season. I was like, damn, these guys play for each other. It was really cool. Like they legitimately love being around each other. And Troy, I'm sure, as you know, 8 months, it's a grind, dude. You're with these people more than you are your wife and your family and mom and dad and all that stuff. So I'm a fan of it, man. I just love being around the players, and I love getting to know them and their stories. And it's also fun watching winning baseball too.
So
Love it. Go ahead, Scott.
this last year, you got to call the first full season playoff season for the Marlins in 20 years. I mean, what was that like? I see those videos right on the eve of the playoffs. You had those cool hype videos, but this was a historic Miami Marlins season.
Yeah, I mean, I think within reason, it was just surreal. It was really, really cool to see them get this opportunity. And it's even cooler when there's no expectations and nobody's going to give you a chance. And I think within reason, it's got to fuel the players. And I think they would tell you that. And they did. they acknowledge that, like, oh yeah, like it fuels us. It was just amazing to see them come together and just like constantly win games they shouldn't. That's like the nature of the beast. It's really hard to win like 40 plus 1-run games or come back 40 something times in this game. In my little catbird seat, watching somebody throw 100, I'm sure it's not easy to hit, and they were constantly coming back in the 7th inning or later. So that was like, I would say, as the season progressed, it started to get a little bit more real, and they kept on doing it. They kept on coming back. They kept on winning 1-run games. They would get a dramatic hit every night. It was somebody different every single night. So it was crazy. It was so cool. For more than anybody, I was happy for the fans that have stuck by the team. I know it's not easy. We're all fans of a sports team, I'm sure, whether it's football, basketball, drives you nuts when they're not winning and they're losing, and you just want to see them win. So really, I thought a lot about the fans, and a lot of those fans have been around a lot longer and have liked this team for a lot longer than I have, and have been a team kind of a staple or a fixture of it. So more than anything, the players, of course, but the fans. I really thought about the fans.
I love it. That just is awesome that I try to do that every single time. Anytime, any interview, anything like that, the fans are the whole reason we do it sometimes.
Yeah.
They bring the energy a lot of the time. And, I've seen the videos, heard your calls. You bring an immense amount of energy. Do you have like a pregame drink, or do you just run on natural O2 oxygen? And
Yeah.
you're just an energetic guy.
I'm very energetic, and I'm passionate about it because I love the game and I love the team and the players. It is not it's genuine. It's not disingenuous. Like, I probably sound a little bit more upset than I should when the team loses because I'm genuinely a fan of them. I will get frustrated with the umpires like everybody else, and I love when they win and do good things. It's genuine, because my thing is, if they're crazy enough to keep on giving me this opportunity, I'm going to give you everything I got every night, because in my opinion, the fans deserve it. If you're listening and you're giving me a little bit of your time every single night, those people listening deserve everything you have, because at the end of the day, I'm not putting men on the moon. I love broadcasting, and I love broadcasting baseball. So if that's my only responsibility from 7 to 10 o'clock every single night, hell, I'm going to give you everything I got.
Is going home to New York the best besides being in Miami?
Yes, it is. But I also have developed so many friendships. Some of my best friends are in Atlanta. Jonathan and Ben and Joe in that booth. Like, what I love is traveling and seeing the people that you haven't seen in 6 or 7 months. And then you catch up for an hour and you just go get a beer after a game, man. Like, to me, it's the people, it's your friends throughout the league. That to me is the absolute best. And, and obviously more so in the National League East, seeing people so much. I just love seeing my friends throughout the league. And of course, yes, going home to New York, it was unbelievable. The first time I got to broadcast at Citi Field, that's, it's a dream come true for, a kid like myself.
So we got to ask you, on the eve of the 2024 season, Peter Bendix is in the front office now. As you said, it was an unlikely, awesome playoff berth in 2023, and there's a long way to go before the start of the season. How do you feel about this new front office and some of the changes they've brought about so far going into this new season?
It might not be the sexiest thing that fans are going to want to hear. It's the most excited I've been about the direction and future of the organization in a long time. I think they're going to try to replicate things the way the Tampa Bay Rays have done, and understandably so, because they compete for a World Series every year. In year one, they're going to worry about the infrastructure of the organization and taking care of every single major league player and minor league player from the Dominican Republic here to Miami. I think it's necessary. I think it's crucial. I think they understood that there was a lot that had to be done. I think they're going to invest the financial resources that it takes to do that. And you have to do that for more than 1 year. You can't just do it for this year and take a step back next year. But player development, taking care of players, first-class organization, the infrastructure is in place. It sets you up in a position. It puts you in a place where multiple years down the road, and that's not to say that they won't be successful this year. They've lost Jorge Soler, and Sandy Alcantara is out, but that does not mean that this team cannot compete. I want to make that very clear. It's not like they sold everybody off. And that's the truth. I think they're going to be competitive, but I'm just extremely excited about the future and the direction as well under Peter.
Troy, that's good for you.
That is, I love it. I think
Very good for you.
we're all in this together, and it's an exciting time and exciting to be. I've been through so many transitions already just in 5 years that sometimes I don't even know who to call when I need questions, but now I know the certain people that are in place and they have a certain reputation about them that I'm really excited to see kind of what the next 2-3 years. Hopefully they get that opportunity to have a longer stint than some of the other people, but these next 2-3 years, and especially this year.
I think you're going to fall in love with some of these people too, Troy. They're genuine human beings to the folks that I've gotten an opportunity to meet, whether it's Peter or Gabe Kapler, Rachel Balkovec, who they just hired director of player development. They're hiring people that are genuinely, again, I hate that I have to preface this. It does not mean anything to anybody else. I'm just saying the current regime, they are hiring people that are genuinely awesome human beings that care about each other. And I think that's where you have to start. That's not to say it wasn't that way before, but I'm just saying the people that are here now, they're just really, really good humans that care about this organization, about the players. It doesn't matter how young or how old you are. If you're a player in this organization, they're going to take great care of you. And I think that's going to resonate with a lot of players in the system and in the big leagues this year.
I love that. That is just so exciting to see this future and kind of where everything's going and all that. Scott, do you want to work on the next section? We have about a couple minutes left. Do you want to work on that next section, or do you have any more questions for Kyle?
No, let's play your game. You
Okay.
answer this. This is your game that you molded, and I think it's pretty cool, Kyle.
All right.
All right.
All right. Let's do the game real quick. I got a couple seconds for you.
Okay.
So the rules of the game is called plate appearance. I'm going to give you 10 questions. The first question is a single. The second question is a double. The third question is a triple. And then it goes back, fourth question single, fifth question double, that kind of thing. And we're going to see how many runs you can score. We're going to keep it throughout the year with all of our guests.
All right.
And try to see how many points we can get. We're going to have a leaderboard, everything like that.
All right.
So the singles are relatively easy. Doubles are going to get a little bit harder. Triples harder. And then the home run right at the end, the 10th question, is by far going to be the hardest. Good luck.
I'm concerned about this. Fire away.
Okay. So first question for a single. Who was the 2023 strikeout leader?
For the Miami Marlins, you talking about in baseball?
No, full baseball. Every baseball. This is not just minor league or Marlins baseball.
And a pitcher.
Full
Pitcher.
baseball.
Gotta
We're gonna run out of time. Let me think really quick. Oh my god, I have no idea. This is so difficult. Blake Snell.
No single. So we have one out. Once you get to 3 outs, your points are over. But guess what? Next one, you get a double. So here's the double. Question number 1. Most used bat brand in baseball.
This is gonna be wrong. Is it Rawlings?
Nope, it is Marucci. So that is 2 outs for you. Okay, so Scott, do we give him the triple, or do we see if he can score a run with a home run here?
I think let's get the triple because it's a little bit easier of a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get a triple here. All right, for a triple to put a runner on third, 2 outs.
Was the answer Garrett Cole, by the way?
No, it wasn't. Spencer Strider. Okay, so for a triple, let's see. Who do we got here? Of the 16 franchises of the modern 2-league era, which one has never won more than 100 games during a regular season?
This is a tough question, by the way.
Say it one more time. Say it one more time.
Of the 16 franchises of the modern 2-league era, which one has never won more than 100 games during a regular season?
This is going to be wrong, too. I know they did it in the early 2010s. Is it the Pirates?
It's not. It is the Chicago White Sox, and that is a 3 up, 3 down.
Good luck to whoever else. Holy cow.
That's man, maybe we So Kyle is on the board with 0 runs so far.
Nice.
Give him another chance. I should have gave you this question. This was a direct Marlins one. It was the 2024 Marlins top prospect.
Oh, shit. Is it Noble Meyer?
There you go. All right, perfect. We got
Oh.
Okay.
Should be Troy Johnston.
I told you, best looking minor leaguer right there. I'm number 1, undefeated.
God bless you, dude. Good for you.
Okay. So I want to double back on that. let's talk about, I want to know your favorite quote and why.
This is timely. We talked about my recent travels. One of my favorite quotes, I don't think this actually came from anybody, it's just something I've always heard, is the greatest gift you can give yourself is the gift of travel.
Huh.
I think it's an awesome, awesome quote. And along those lines, if I could piggyback off of that, traveling will cost you a lot of money, but it's the only thing that'll make you richer.
That's good.
Is that your quote, or is that somebody?
That's not my quote. I've
Okay.
just heard that before, and I never believed it until I really started traveling. And in particular, this last trip, I was like, to see parts of the world and to meet people that don't care about like what we do, what I do, but like genuinely just to meet other human beings and see their way of life. I was like, yep, it makes a lot of sense to me now.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's something that, like I said, one of the reasons I wanted to include this in our podcast is I'm a big quote guy. I work, my mental notebook is full of quotes, full of different stuff that people say.
Nice.
For me, a quote can take you a long way. It can bring you back
Mhm.
to the center. It can bring you back to what really matters in life
Mhm.
outside of everything that we do on a daily basis. And I think that is so cool because I am totally on that train. My wife has traveled all over the world. I'm just
Awesome.
barely getting my feet wet. I went to Greece this last year, but I'm barely getting my feet wet. I want to go on a trip like yours. Yours sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It was
If
crazy.
we can push that on other people, that traveling is such a an important experience no matter what you do, whether you travel to a different city an hour away or it's
Yep.
halfway across the world. It exposes you to so many different things and broadens your horizons. I think that is a perfect example of exactly what you're trying to convey. I love it. That's great.
Awesome.
Let's bring it full circle. Where's the next trip, or any ideas for the next trip?
Yeah, I do. So our trip leader for this group, well, let me get this right. Her name was Maddie. She was an unbelievable trip leader. She's a bit of a nomad. She basically lives out of carry-on in a personal item. It's amazing. She was born and raised. She's got like 3 different visas, but she primarily grew up in New Zealand. Her mother played for the New Zealand women's soccer team. Yes, a very good one back in the day. Anyway, I say all that because on our trip with all of the other folks that were on the trip, we asked her if in the next year or two, if she would be willing to kind of dive off from the company that she works for, FTLO, for a week or two. And there's some lawyers on the trip. If they wrote the fine print, would she mind guiding us on a week and a half trip around New Zealand?
Wow.
And around her home country. So I think that's something I would love to do, similar to what the trip we just took. But if she wouldn't mind being a trip leader through her home country that she grew up in, and she loved the idea. So that's something that's definitely on my mind. There's a lot of places I just flat out haven't been. I'd love to travel more in Europe. I'm very keen on going to very obscure places. Like I don't think many people have Finland or Sweden or Norway. And when I was in Norway in Tromsø, I think never let the facts get in the way of a good story, but I'm directionally correct here. I think there are only 2 other indigenous tribes on planet Earth that inhabit somewhere further on the latitude and longitude line than Tromsø, Norway. It was very cool. You can't get much further north. It was very interesting.
Kyle,
It's in North.
this was awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Trivia didn't go well. You know what? Let me show you guys how to edit some things, and we'll cut out the trivia segment. No, keep that in there. You know what? I can't shy away from it. I thought I had some very good guesses. Blake Snell was a very good guess. I don't want to toot my own horn. He didn't go deep into games, struck a ton of guys out. I felt directionally correct there. Never can go wrong with saying Rawlings. Couldn't have been more incorrect. And I stunk at it, but I felt good about my answers. How's that?
I do have an upside to it.
Okay.
You are in first place right now, but you're also in last place since you're our first guest.
Now, this podcast, for people listening, it's only going to go one episode.
That's what we were talking about in our first one. We got an hour into a podcast, and one and done.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me on. Troy, best of luck. I'm rooting for you. Scott, I'm always rooting for you. And I know we'll do some games here in spring training, dude.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the two of us calling Troy's at bats. That'd be awesome. Or plate appearances, excuse me.
Plate appearances at bats.
Plate appearances. Exactly. No, thank you. Thank you so much. You know, as much as this is a baseball podcast, it turned into a travel podcast, which I like even more. This is perfect. But awesome. You've been awesome. You had some amazing answers. We just love having you on. We appreciate it.
Anytime, guys. Thank you.
Yep.
That's Kyle Sielaff, Miami Marlins broadcaster. He's awesome. Marlins fans are really lucky. Thanks again, Kyle. That was awesome, Troy. Marlins are lucky. I know I just said that. He's an awesome guy. Year one, and he's where he wants to be. I mean, that's going to be the guy they listen to for decades to come. That's so cool.
I'm super excited for him. He just seems like such a genuine person, and to have him on our show, especially as one of our guests, as we're just starting out, this is just, you know, it's awesome to talk to genuine people like that. And he had nothing but good things to say about the Marlins, and we're just really excited for him.
And he's going to give you a good word with Skip Schumacher, so that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe some discounted golf at Abacoa. Yeah.
But that was not recorded. He promised you discounted golf every day.
Every day, he said, wow. And he said he's going to play something crazy like $100 a hole, you know?
And you're going to win because you used to be.
I'm going to win. I'm just kidding.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening in. This is awesome. Thanks again to our guest, Kyle Sielaff. If you liked our episode, please rate and review us. We're obviously very new. That's how we're going to grow. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can obviously follow us wherever you get your podcast. Thanks again. We'll talk to you next time, everybody.
And that's the ball game. Thanks for listening to this episode of Turn 2 Podcast with Scott and Troy. A huge thanks to Ken Babby, Harold Craw, Linda McNabb, Noel Blaha, Matt Goodrow, David Ratz, Gillian Bay, and the rest of the Jumbo Shrimp staff for their continued support.